What's up, everybody? It's Benny Mac here. Today, I just wanted to bring you guys a Destiny 2 build. This is going to be the first of a series of a few builds I'm going to put together. Of course, there's going to be new ones every season with new aspects and fragments that come along. But yeah, this is pretty much what I've been running this season, what I've been enjoying. And the first one I was going to bring is Arc Hunter. And so, let's go ahead and get into the basics of the subclass to start out with. So I've got the new Hunter Super, Gathering Storm. Very good super. If you haven't tried it out, I recommend that you do. We've got Gambler's Dodge here, just to get my melee back faster. You'll see why that's important soon. Triple Jump, of course, because I can't use anything else. Combination Blow is very key here, as opposed to Disorienting, because Combination Blow, every time you defeat a target with your melee ability, it regenerates your dodge, as well as it gives you the stacks, which increases your damage. You'll see later on in the build. Then I've got Storm Grenades here, just because that's my preferred grenade of choice on all three characters, pretty much. And for aspects, I've got Tempest Strike. It kind of just, it flows well with meleeing. It's just good overall for the whole theme of the build here, that we're meleeing things. And then Lethal Current, this one's very important. After dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. And so pretty much every time I dodge and then melee something, it's like a big arc explosion, and it changes to targets around me, and it does quite the damage to not only the target I meleeed, but the surrounding things as well. So for fragments, the first thing I've got is Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. It's just good because with this build, you're going to be punching everything, you're going to be up close and personal, you're going to want that extra damage resistance for sure. Spark of Frequency, melee hits grant increased, they greatly increase your reload speed for a short duration. That's kind of just preference, you don't need that one. It's just, melee hits, melee build. I figured why not. The next up, I've got Spark of Discharge. Arc Weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an ionic trace, and that's just for the simple fact that when I am using my weapon, which is going to be my arc shotgun, it does have the possibility to make ionic traces, and which recharges my abilities faster, and it just takes the upkeep of the abilities. It's nice to have everything all at once. And then last, but most certainly not least, is Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage, and it gives you 10 resilience, which plays into our 100 resilience build. So with this one, the target melees you, you're meleeing them back. The whole point of the build again is to melee. So with that melee, it's increasing your melee, and it's good for the build as a whole. And then for stat points, we've got again, this is all preference, it's just what I prefer. The super is really good, so I prefer intellect. 100 resilience is pretty much mandatory throughout the whole game on all three characters. Now 40% damage reduction is huge on every character. Definitely a something you want to do in game content. Mobility, just I hate to have low mobility on a hunter, just for the simple fact that the class ability ties to it, and it's good to have mobility on a hunter. I can't really say any more than that. Don't really need recovery, because I'll tell you why later on. For our discipline, it's low as well, and our strength is low, because I'm going to be getting both of these back by picking up my elemental wells, which I'll talk about here in a second. And then armor mods. On my helmet, I've got a resilience mod, shotgun ammo finder, and melee well maker. The shotgun ammo finder is just to feed my shotgun, which I've got the 1-2 punch with. And then I've got melee well maker. Melee well maker, it creates an elemental well that matches my subclass when I melee a combatant. So pretty much every time I melee something, I get arc elemental wells, and you'll see why that's important here in a second. And then on my Liar's Handshake here, I've got things that reduce my melee cooldown, because having the melee up all the time is huge for this build. I've got Well of Ions. Picking up an Arc Elemental Well causes your next melee to deal increased damage, again flowing into the melee build. So if I melee something, it makes an Arc Elemental Well. I pick up that Elemental Well, and it just it makes the whole build better as a whole. And then, let's see. For the chest piece, I've got Bountiful Wells. It's just basically with my melees, it's making more wells, recharging my abilities faster, granting me upkeep, granting me the damage buff to my melee all the time. It's just a nice thing to have. And then I've got Font of Might to capitalize on the arc wells I'm making. It'll make my weapons that match my subclass type deal more damage when I pick up a elemental well that matches my damage type. So I've got Font of Might with arc weapons on my build. I've got my arc shotgun with 1-2 punch, and I've got my storm chaser here, both with very good rolls. The 1-2 punch is huge for the melee build. And then moving down to the class item, I've got a Thunderous Retort, which grants my arc super bonus damage if I'm critically wounded or amplified. It's really hard to not be amplified with this build. You're pretty much going to have it up at all times. We've got Surge Detonators here. It's just another seasonal mod. Arc grenades disrupt combatants, basically overload nades. That's the way to summarize that. And I've got Well of Striking. Picking up an Arc Elemental Well grants you additional melee energy, so it's basically just ensuring that I've got my melee up at all times, so that way I can just melee everything. Because the whole idea for this build is just to punch, punch, punch away. So then I've got my shotgun here, like I said, with Grave Robber and 1-2 punch. Pretty good synergy on this roll here, because melee final blows reload this weapon from its reserves. So I rarely have to reload this gun if I'm using it correctly. And then I've got 1-2 punch. Hitting an enemy with every pellet in a shot increases the melee damage for a short duration, and this is a significant buff. If I hit every pellet of my shotgun shot, it multiplies my damage by 3.5, which is a lot. So yeah, that's the build. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to boot up this Lost Sector here, show you guys how the build works exactly. We're going to do Master so that you can really get a grasp for how well it works in high-level in-game PvE content. So yeah, as you saw before, build is all the same. Alright, so I'm going to start by just getting my stacks of my combination blow up. So I'm going to get a melee kill, then I'm going to dodge, I'm going to get a melee kill, then I'm going to dodge again, I'm going to get a melee kill. That one didn't count because he died to the explosion, so I need to get another melee kill. Now we got that. Now that we've got this up, I'm not even going to stun that overload, and I just one-shotted him. As you can see, balanced. Very, very balanced. Again, master level content, didn't stun the overload, one-shot him. Like this video if you think that should be in the game. Uh-oh. I dodged near those guys because I thought they were enemies and they weren't. So now I've got to get a few more melee kills and make some wells and hopefully get my ability back, which I did. So now I can refresh my timer. Also keep in mind that every Vex I kill is dropping these little pools on the ground that damage me. So I'm just eating that damage all the time. Like, so not only is this good for putting out big numbers of damage, it's also good for survivability. Like, because every time I punch something with my exotic gauntlets, the cross counter buff will heal me. Dodge here, keep my stacks going. Alright, I'll go ahead and let that damage the boss while I kill all the enemies. Didn't have to stun him. It just does not matter. See, and here's the thing about like floating bosses. Meleeing these guys is kind of hard. I recommend you bring something else to put out that kind of damage, like my linear fusion's gonna do here in a minute, because I simply just can't punch that guy floating around like he is. Also, you see the amount of damage I'm taking, and it's just not killing me. Yeah, this shit's kind of crazy. So go ahead and put the boss down here. And there you have it. This build is very balanced and should be in the game. Like and leave a comment if you thought the build was pretty good. Let me know your feedback, and thanks for watching.